College students, what is something that people who never went to college just don't understand? When I first started college, I figured it would just be a continuation of what I'd experienced in high school, classes, friends, some new independence. But it quickly became clear that college was a whole different world, and there were things about it that people who never went to college just wouldn't get. It's not just the lectures or exams. It's the whole lifestyle, the pressure, and the constant balancing act that goes on behind the scenes. For starters, people outside college don't realize how much of your life ends up revolving around schoolwork. It's not just showing up to class 3 or 4 times a week. Every class has assignments, readings, group projects, presentations, and they pile up. You might have a paper due in 2 classes and a test the next day, but then there's also a presentation you've been ignoring for a week. Everyone says, oh, college is just partying and hanging out. But in reality, most of your free time disappears into studying and catching up. One semester I had 5 classes that all required weekly papers or reflections. At one point, I was pulling all-nighters twice a week just to keep up. You don't get to relax just because you're done with classes for the day. The work follows you home, into the dorm, and even into the bathroom if you're desperate enough to read notes in there. The pressure to keep your GPA up, to impress professors, and to make your resume look good is always there, lurking in the background. Then there's the financial stress. People think college is just about tuition and books, but that's just scratching the surface. You're paying for rent, groceries, utilities, and sometimes transportation. If you're not lucky enough to have a scholarship or family support, you're juggling part-time jobs or student loans on top of everything else. I remember working at a coffee shop early mornings before class and then studying late at night, all while feeling like I was barely keeping my head above water. What most outsiders don't get is how exhausting it is to constantly wear multiple hats. You're a student, sure, but you're also an employee, a roommate, a friend, and sometimes a caregiver to family members back home. Balancing those roles while trying to stay mentally and physically healthy can feel impossible. I watched some of my closest friends break down from the stress, and the stigma around mental health in college only made it harder for them to ask for help. Social life isn't what it's cracked up to be either. Everyone imagines crazy parties and nonstop fun, but a lot of people spend more nights alone in their rooms than out with friends. That's partly because of schedules, but also because many people feel isolated or homesick. Making new friends is tough when you're swamped with work and everyone else is in the same boat. I found myself spending weekends just scrolling through social media, seeing everyone else's highlight reels and feeling left out. There's also this constant fear of missing out that no one really talks about. You're trying to do well academically, but you also want to have a social life, join clubs, maybe get an internship. The more you say yes to, the more you stretch yourself thin. You start sacrificing sleep, meals, and sometimes your own mental health just to keep all the balls in the air. It's exhausting and unsustainable, but the fear of falling behind pushes you to keep going. One of the biggest surprises was how little some classes actually prepare you for the real world. You spend hours memorizing theories, writing papers, and acing tests, but when it comes time to apply what you learn to a job, you realize you don't know the first thing about managing office politics, negotiating salaries, or even basic things like networking. The gap between academic knowledge and practical skills is wider than most people expect. College also teaches you how to deal with failure in ways that are both brutal and necessary. You don't always get the grades you want, or the internships you apply for. You miss deadlines or bomb presentations. Unlike high school, where teachers might be more forgiving or hands-on, in college, you have to learn to advocate for yourself, seek resources, and accept that sometimes you just won't succeed. It's humbling and often lonely. What people outside college often don't realize is how much independence is thrust upon you, sometimes way too fast. You're suddenly responsible for everything. Waking up on time, managing money, eating properly, handling your own healthcare, and making decisions that can impact your future. That freedom is exhilarating but terrifying, and not everyone is ready for it when they arrive on campus. Then there's the pressure to figure out who you are and what you want to do with your life. For many students, college is the first time they seriously confront these questions. It's not just about picking a major, it's about shaping your identity and values. That process can be messy, confusing, and sometimes painful. You might change your mind a dozen times, face judgment from family or friends, or feel lost when comparing yourself to others who seem to have it all figured out. One thing I've come to understand is that college isn't just a stepping stone to a career. It's a crash course in adulthood. You learn resilience, time management, communication, and the importance of self-care, often the hard way. You develop empathy for people from different backgrounds, learn to challenge your own beliefs, and experience growth that isn't always visible on a transcript. When I graduated, people asked me what I'd learned, and I had to say it wasn't just the stuff from textbooks or lectures. It was everything else. The late nights, the stress, the failures, the friendships, and the moments of quiet triumph. That's what makes college both exhausting and rewarding in equal measure. To those who never went to college, it might just seem like 4 years of partying and classes. But for those of us who've lived it, college is a complicated mix of pressure, growth, struggle, and discovery. It's something that shapes you in ways that don't always make sense until years later, and something you carry with you long after the cap and gown are put away.